Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kodak House. I think a lot of you have never been here before. Who's never been to our space? Awesome. Well, welcome. This is our community and educational space. We also sell film here. Tyler bought all of his film for this movie at this location, or most of it at least. But we've been really looking forward to having Tyler with us. As many of you know, his background is in fine arts photography, and he has a passion for all things gear related to film. He shot this movie on every format and lens and camera known to man. It's an impressive feat. We love getting to see him, celebrate it now with you all and with us and with the world now that it's available on streaming. But we're really proud of what Tyler has accomplished here technically. It's guerrilla filmmaking at its highest level. The images that he's brought to screen and bringing, his photographs to life in the way that he has in this movie is really incredible. And we have a lot of people trying to figure out how he's done what he's done here, especially with the budget and doing almost every job himself. Tyler was the writer, director, producer, cinematographer, editor, sound mixer, colorist, I think that's actor. Thank you very much. So with no further ado, we're going to get started. Ari Davidson from our team is moderating, and I want to introduce the unflappable, unbelievable Tyler Shields.
What an intro.
Oh, and I just meant to mention, we are also filming this in true Tyler form, so 35 millimeter back there.
Yeah.
Cameras everywhere in
That's
true
right.
Tyler form. Hi,
Like,
Tyler.
you can't come to the Kodak house and not film on film, right?
Well, not anymore. Thanks. I've got Stephen Lighthill, my old film school professor, calling me out on the digital cameras here. So I think we're gonna have more film. Hey, Stephen, great to have
Hey.
you. AFI in the house. How many AFI do we have here? Oh, we got one. We got one, Stephen. Tyler, I told him this already. How many of you have been in this movie? Hey,
Yes.
Pace, the director is in the house.
That's right.
How many of you have seen the film? Awesome. Love to see it. Love to see it. Man, my favorite thing about this film
Okay.
is not how you used every format, old and new, film and digital, and not even that you did it for essentially peanuts. And it's not that you had the most IMAX film before, a certain somebody took your title. But it's actually how generous you are with the knowledge and the craft that went into this. And that's why I think this is probably indicative of the future of filmmaking, because you did so much with such love and so many friends with such great scope. And then you're so happy to share it. When I met Tyler here at the Kodak house, he said, we're shooting on every format. And I said, really? This one? This one? This one? He goes, yeah. And then I asked him, well, how did you do that? How did you shoot IMAX anamorphic? And then he just told me, which I thought was so cool, because a lot of times, especially when you're, a fine artist or, a avant-garde filmmaker, you'll keep that close. Like, that's your secret sauce, when really your secret sauce is just bringing that love to the set and then sharing it with everybody. I think that's so cool. So that being said, how the hell did you come up with this idea, and why? Of shooting every format. You don't have to do that.
Really?
I'm really, yeah.
Okay.
I'd gander that most filmmakers would prefer not to. So tell me what made you decide to take this on?
I think part of it is I have incredibly talented and amazing friends who were always very supportive. So, where the anamorphic IMAX came from, where, anamorphic Technorama, which is anamorphic VistaVision, that was, Giovanni and I would just get to having conversations, and it became this thing of, Giovanni has such a passion for cinema that it was, well, let's just keep pushing this. So when it started, we had 8, 16, 35, and 65. And that would normally be enough, right? But then it became, well, let's do Ultra 70. Let's get the Ben-Hur lenses, and let's do anamorphic IMAX, and so we just kind of kept pushing. And Giovanni's just like, I don't know, his passion for cinema is so infectious, and I don't want to speak about myself like that, but I feel like mine is as well. And so we just kept, he would call me in the middle of the night, I'd call him, and I'd be like, oh, what if we did this, or what if we did this, or this old film stock, and it just kind of became this thing where, as we did it, I would then tie it into the story. So I'd be like, okay, well, this character for this fake movie that's in the movie, they're going to be shot on anamorphic IMAX or 8mm, or this movie, there's a movie in it, which I don't know how many people have seen it, but the big sword fight in the desert, right? So there's this kind of crazy one, which we call the name of that fake movie is Tarantula Prince, which is the worst name for the coolest looking movie. But that was the first time, to our knowledge, that anyone did technorama since the 60s. And you're just out there. I'll never forget the moment, we're out there, the wind's going like, 40 miles an hour or whatever, and I look over, and it's just this magical moment where you're just seeing this thing, and you're like, yeah, no one has done this since the 60s, but this is amazing. Like that format, which Panavista, Technorama, any of that, it's just so beautiful. And so I hope that this movie brings some of these formats back. And my dream is like a producer or director can say, look at this scene. I want my movie to be like that. And I don't particularly care about gatekeeping at all. I think that the information should be shared, and I think that people should know the formats. They should know how we did as much as we can tell you. And so for me, yeah, it was just, my actors are just so game.
Top notch.
So game.
I mean,
and
you guys. I know you guys are all here. You guys
well,
are great.
I'll talk about Connor, who played Christopher Pace for a second. He got to a point where, we were doing this. Sometimes it would be me and Giovanni. Sometimes it would be just me, and I'm filming and holding the boom at the same time. And so, it was difficult because Pace would learn. Connor learned every lens. So if we were shooting on IMAX and I said we're on the 80mm, he could come from 50 feet off, run in and stop exactly where I needed him without a rehearsal, without me saying anything, because he knew the lens, and he memorized that for almost every camera, which is just so impressive and amazing to me. And a lot of the actors were like that. Mm-hmm. So. Just so many great people were a part of this.
Yeah. We're talking about, how you want all these formats to inspire other filmmakers or to be almost like referential to a new way to do things. I mean, I told you after I saw the film, I was exhausted. And not only was I exhausted, I was driving home on the 405 and just silence because it was the most visually dense film I think I've ever seen. There's just so much to take in and admire and be inspired by that you just kind of have to, at least me, you have to take a beat and go, wow, I just watched all of that. I mean, because you feel there is a qualitative difference. And I think even with film and formats, I mean, as much as we have a myriad of formats now, but a lot of it just kind of gets grouped together in these bins of like, oh, that's 35. That's what 35 looks like. Oh, that's a log. That's what that looks like. That's 8K. That's what that looks like. And now, the chapter 51 takes us a lot deeper and goes, well, no, hang on. There's this whole other thing. There's a whole set of brushes within this set, right? So let's take a quick gander at what some of the images are in Dissident.
Oh, okay.
The film within the film.
So that's obviously the movie trailer for the fake movie within the movie, and that's how we open the film.
Yeah, but very much a micro of the macro, right? That's got everything. Maybe not the talking heads portion, but it's As in interviews, the talking heads didn't have anything to do with this movie, at least that I'm aware of.
Yeah, no talking heads in
No.
Dissident. Dissident is like a big kind of crazy Christopher Nolan, Tom Cruise. It's one of those like, big movies that
Tentpole
tentpole.
studio
Yeah.
picture. Yeah.
Christopher Pace only does big things.
Yeah, of course. He's the greatest director of all time.
Of all time, yeah.
Some would say.
Their words, not his.
You guys will see it and you'll get it. Or you'll get
Well,
it
I think what's really amazing is, when I was right before I came in, Abigail had called me, and the movie's been out for a couple days now, and anytime we screen it at IMAX, it's this crazy experience. And as Ari is saying, he's driving home and he's like in silence, and it's amazing when you see it at IMAX. But now people are seeing it on streaming, and I spent a lot of time making sure that it looked the best that it could in terms of like being on the TV. But I'm getting all these calls where people are watching the movie 3 or 4 times. So Abby called me and she's like, "Yeah, I guess her best friend watched the movie 4 times since it's come out, and it came out on Tuesday." And it's such a compliment, right? Like you make something and you just hope somebody watches it once, and then you get these emails or these messages or these calls from people, and they're like breaking down every detail to such a crazy level. I did an interview with this critic, and she knew things. I remember Connor and I one time were in the desert, and we did this thing where each one of his outfits that he wears in the movie is an homage to a movie character. And I remember one day we were in the desert, and somebody goes, "Do you think anybody is ever going to notice this?"
Yes.
And the first thing she says is, she goes, "Pace's outfits. This scene in the desert was this, and this was this, and this was this." And I was like, it just brought me so much joy, right? Like people notice such details. And to have somebody watch the movie multiple times, I think it's just the greatest compliment.
So you compared Dissident to a major tentpole production. How big was your crew for an average day of Dissident?
For an average day on Dissident, you could fit our biggest crew that we ever had. I think you could fit right here on this front row. Let's see, 2, 4, 5. So you'd add 2 more chairs. So we had seven people was our biggest crew we ever had. And Giovanni can attest to this. That is when we had helicopters, a Ferrari on fire. There was bull whips and dolly shots, and so that was our biggest crew. But to be fair, Giovanni equals about 15 people, right? Little Tyler, who's filming right now on the film camera, he equals about 10 people, and then all the actors are just so game and willing to do everything. Everyone learned how to change lenses, they learned how to do sound, they learned how to carry cameras, take them apart, put them back together, everything. So
Yeah, despite what the union would have you believe, sharing is caring on your set. Huh?
Right.
I know, and I love that because I was guilty of this too. Coming up, you're like, oh man, when I finally work on a movie with a budget, all of these problems are gonna go away. It's like, man, it's gonna be so much easier. It isn't. It's just more money, and the problems are bigger. And I love how you maintain the scale of like a small crew and just didn't compromise on
big
what
movie,
that meant you could achieve.
Big
And-
movie, small crew.
Yeah. And then, to your point, and this is another thing I said to Tyler earlier, is this is some of the best, H.264 encoded video I've ever seen. And we have this conversation
Such a
all the time.
compliment.
It's like, well, why would you shoot on film if it's going to go to digital, and and so and so is going to muck it up, and it's going to go through this, and who cares, and streaming this, and that. And it's just, it's awesome to see a movie, a big movie, small crew, take such care from beginning to end, from pen to post. You're just making sure it's all there.
I think part of it is a lot of people, when they go to color their movies, a LUT is just applied, right? So okay, cool, we're just going to apply this LUT through the movie. Every single frame of this movie was colored by hand. I colored most of it. Giovanni colored some scenes. He's a wizard at coloring. And there would just be times where, if I was stuck with coloring a scene, he'd come over and, at midnight and be like, oh, da-da-da. I remember one time, I for some reason, I was having a hard time with this one scene coloring early on, and he came over, and he sat down. He was in the chair for 45 seconds, and then he goes, all right. And I go, that's it. And he left. But, it's just... the dedication that we took on everything. And if there was ever a shot that wasn't right, we would shoot something else to make it right. Yeah, and then even Dan Sasaki had made some new lenses for the VistaVision, and the movie was done, and I was like, I gotta put it in. It's the best, one of the best lenses I've ever seen. We gotta have it. So that we got the airplane, and we did that whole chase sequence.
So to your point with Dan Sasaki, the legend lens magician at Panavision. So stop me if I'm incorrect, but I thought with IMAX you were using IMAX lenses, and then you used Panavision for the anamorphic component to do anamorphic IMAX.
Yeah. So IMAX, Bruce and Greg and everyone at IMAX are just unbelievable people, right? Like they've supported this from the very beginning, when I was just this crazy person being like, I'm going to make this really small movie and I want to shoot on IMAX. And they were like, okay. And then they saw it. And then, now I talk to them almost every day, and they're just like great people who also love cinema. But in the beginning, for, I think 30 something years, only IMAX lenses had ever been allowed to be put on an IMAX camera. And we were at Panavision one day, and I said to Dan Sasaki, I want to do something that no one has ever done before. I want to do anamorphic IMAX. And he built this lens that was just this, it's one of the most beautiful lenses I've ever seen. It's not visually from how it looks, because it's just like a circle of metal with Sharpie marker on it. But it's just unbelievable. And we designed the lens for the Ferrari on fire and for some of those desert shots. And what I personally love is that because we did that, IMAX looked at that stuff and said, oh, well, maybe we should put other lenses on these cameras. And I believe now you have Dune is using different lenses. You have other movies. And that's going to continue. And then through that, Dan had made a set of IMAX lenses, which we use in the film. The blue shot where he's kind of pointing, that's one of the Panavision IMAX lenses. And it's just, you've never seen that look, because forever we were used to just the set of lenses that they had, which are amazing. Their IMAX lenses are amazing, but it was really cool to be the first to do that.
So you're clearly very technically proficient and surrounded by likewise individuals. When you were deciding on your formats or capturing a look, what was your approach in, I guess, pairing a format or a lens with a stock or an era, so on and so forth?
Yeah, it was a fun process, because we had Quick and Quicker, which is one of the fake movies in there, which is our Fast and Furious type movie. And I remember one day we were shooting, and Giovanni comes over to me and goes, "This looks like shit." And I go, "This is Quick and Quicker." And he goes, "Got it." Because we wanted it to have that feel, which I just love that moment so much. But each one, the character Lawrence Hughes, he has a bunch of different movies. He's the caveman, and he has all these, he has West of Eden and all these kind of crazy movies. So each one of those I wanted to have a unique feel. And for me, when people make movies, and I hope anybody in here who ever makes a movie, just for me personally, if you ever make a movie where there's a movie inside the movie, please, for the love of God, don't use the same camera and the same lenses. Use something different. It's a great opportunity to do that. So when we were doing, the big action movie, it's Technorama. When we're doing this, it's Super 8. When we're doing this, it's, and we kind of broke that down. So it'd be like, okay, this movie is B series Panavision. This is T series. This is Cook Penkrose. This is going to be 50D. This is going to be 500T. This is going to be 500T, but we're going to push it. This one's going to be, Giovanni's going to take all the film and he's going to fuck it up in the bag for 45 minutes on the drive home, and then it's going to be scratched. And it's in the movie.
Did you test all of these facets before you implemented
We tested them in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because, okay, so, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but there is a film that I got from 1972. And I got this old roll from 1972, and when I was opening it in the bag, the tape disintegrated. Like, as I started pulling the tape off, it just like disintegrated. And we didn't know, how was this film stored for all that? We didn't know. but we shot it, and it came back, and it's amazing, and it's in the movie. And you have to experiment. And that's why I don't think anybody had ever done anamorphic IMAX, because if you're doing a $100 million movie, not that many movies have shot on IMAX, much more now, but at the time we were doing this, it was, we did this even before Nope. Not a lot of movies, so not a lot of room to experiment. And so I wanted to be the guinea pig, and IMAX and Panavision and all these great people were like, yes, guinea pig it, go. And then they use this movie now to show as an example.
That's awesome. All right, I'm just going to show another clip here before we start talking, get way too ahead with the film stocks. Oh, man.
By the way, on that last shot, he had come about a foot away from the lens.
What lens is it, Tyler?
It's the old Kubrick .9 super wide, Clockwork Orange, that lens. And he gets in close, about a foot, and I'm like, closer. He gets in about half a foot. I'm like, closer. He gets in probably, I don't know. What's the close focus on that one, Jim? Like 2 or 3 inches? So he gets in, and obviously you could see his face, and he's like, he looks at me and he goes, "Can you see anything behind me?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you can see the whole river and everything."
Excellent choice for bad acting.
Bad acting.
So again, just to elaborate a little more on the stocks and the choices and everything, because again, here's just a little snippet. It's a character introduction essentially, but you're setting up everything about him. We're pegging him as a possible serial killer, and you're doing it with all these little vignettes, different looks. So did you go into it when you had the idea of this character and this setup in mind? Did you have an idea of these various homages? I'll do the black and white wide. That kind of looked like a technorama shot in there at sunset with. Did I get it?
Yeah, that's
yes.
It's kind of. So that's the new Panavision. That's Panavista.
Yeah.
That's the new lens that Dan made, which I was like, so we shot that after the movie was done. I was like, we got to have this lens because it's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you
build that?
How do you build that much for such a small part of the film for such a small, big movie?
I think one of the things that we learned kind of early on is whatever the person is saying, and this is a weird construct of a film, right? Because it's talking heads, and then you're showing the overlay footage.
By the way, love the way you light talking heads in this movie.
Oh,
Shout
thank
out
you.
to no backlight.
Yes, thank you. And so it became this thing where we learned that if you took one shot and you put it in one section of the film, it worked and it had one feeling. If you put it in a different section of the film, it had a completely different feeling. And so we were then like, okay, let's really dial this up. And that's why we did the flamethrower and him choking her. We wanted to really show how deviant he is and how kind of intense he can be. And so that's where I believe that lenses inform the character as much as anything else, right? So that wide lens, the way we shot Melvin, that character, we shot him where it's like this big grand thing. We shot him in these close-ups. We shot, in these kind of crazy ways. And it's all designed, every single shot was designed to give you that feeling. And then the film stock was designed, so I remember I showed Dan Sasaki the shot where he's walking and the plane's flying by. And he's like, "How did you do this? Like, it looks so crisp." And I said, "Oh, yeah, that's 50D. And he goes, "At night?" And I said, "Yep." And he said, "Well, you can't do that." And I said, "Well, we did." And Robert was in the other room. And I go, "Robert, come in here." And Robert comes in. I go, "Robert, what do we shoot this on?" He goes, "50D. And Dan goes, "For 30 years, people have been telling me you can't shoot 50D at night." And what I love about so there's some shots in the movie that nobody has noticed yet because they're shot at night on IMAX, but they look like daytime. And I was like so excited because I'm like, oh my God, people are gonna know that this is nighttime, but it looks like daytime. No one's noticed. It just looks like daytime. And I remember Smitty and I, if anybody doesn't know, Smitty is a genius camera.
Raise your hand, Smitty.
Smitty. Yes. Most of your favorite shots in cinema history, Smitty has been there for. And I actually put Smitty in the film, which, by the way, I have to say, just to put him on blast, I was doing an interview with a film critic, and she said to me, there's this one character in the movie. He's the guy with the glasses. He works in the camera department. I keep trying to find him. What movie have I seen him in? And I said, you've never seen him in a movie. She goes, I have seen him in a movie. I've seen 10,000 movies. I've seen this guy in a movie. I go, no, you've seen him in behind the scenes for movies. And then she looked him up and was like, oh my God. And I said, well, Smitty has been preparing for this role for over 30 years. So Smitty is the Daniel Day-Lewis of Chapter 51.
So what else? What else did you do in this movie that people had said you can't do?
Greatest hits. Okay, so one of the things was editing IMAX without proxies. That was my favorite. No, I did no proxies for the whole movie. I hate proxies. I don't like it. It's a waste of time to me. We did that. We did no slates. The only time we ever had a slate was if it was fake, like in the movie, because I calculated that the slate, how much the slates would cost me in money and time of IMAX film. And I was like, yeah, I'd rather just sync it by hand. And then also, most of the stuff we never did more than one take on because it was either too crazy or it was just like the actors were just so on it. The most takes we ever did was 4, and that was because of a FaceTime issue, or a FaceTime audio issue, where somebody was in Australia and the call kept dropping out. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is people watch the movie and they think that we spent 10, 20, 30 million dollars, which we did not. And then when people realize that the whole movie was edited, everything done at my house, color, everything. I think that just shocks people because I don't think they believe that they can do it. And one of my biggest problems is I have a friend who's a filmmaker. He colored his movie. He got it back, and he was very unhappy with it. And he asked me if I would take a pass at it. And I said yes, but he couldn't get it out of the post house to even do it because it cost too much money to even get it out of the post house. And I think when you take away a filmmaker's ability to fix or change or rework their movie, that becomes dangerous. That's one of the things that I love about what Bruce and Greg and everybody at IMAX does is we would watch the movie at IMAX, and I remember leaving one time, and Bruce had called me and said, I got this idea, you should try this and this and this and this and this with sound, right? And he had these just amazing ideas, changed the whole movie. If he had said to me, well, we already made a DCP, we already watched the movie, it's done, there's nothing you can do, it's a very different movie. And when you have people who are always willing to make it better, and nobody's willing to just give up and say it's good enough, because I will tell you this, I've done photography books, throughout my life. After 10 years, after 15 years, you're disappointed in the book. So when I was doing this movie, if there was one shot in there where I thought to myself, 20 years from now, I'm going to be disappointed in myself for this shot, it was out. Because what else are we doing? Why else do it? Why make the movie on digital? Why even do it? It takes so much of your life to do this, so much dedication and passion. You ask people to come out and run from helicopters. It better look good, And so for me, I just find such a level of passion with that, where it's like, take your time. Giovanni would always say, most movies shoot a schedule. They don't shoot a story. And we got to shoot a story, not a schedule.
I have nothing to add.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's awesome, man. Because with making movies, you kind of like you're sculpting, your vision out of like marble, basically, right? Like you're trying to craft something that's very fine art and very difficult, and then you end up bringing on board an army of people that want to put this piece of rock back together. And it's just it can be so counterproductive, and it's cool that you're able to find so many people that were just on board with the idea of we need to be happy with this.
And we also, big thing for us, we never had more than an 8-hour day. That was our longest day we ever had was 8 hours. And a lot of the days, sometimes it'd be an hour and a half, 2 hours. We did 44 IMAX setups in one day. That was our longest day, which I will say Mike Hendricks was a doubter wherever he is. He doubted that we could get past 20, and we ended up doing 44 with multiple IMAX cameras, and we were just literally, I remember I was running from one shot to another, and Abigail had got there, and she goes, "Hi." I go, I'll talk to you later. I don't have time to be nice. I'm running. But everyone had fun, and no one wanted to stop.
Yeah.
Like, we just genuinely had fun, and I think people get on a set, and they think that it needs to be like this, like, angry, and, you know, it's got to be this. No, you can be passionate, and you can have fun, and watching Christopher Pace throw people around like they're, you know, just little pieces of paper, and then we're all laughing, hysterical.
Yeah, I mean, how does shooting this much film, a lot of film, and it's self-funded, I mean, how do you still have fun with so much on the line? I mean, because look, I think making movies is a lot of fun. I think shooting on film it provides a bunch of fun. But at the end of the day, you know, it's like you said, we have 1 or 2 takes. There's a lot of pressure. We were only here for 8-hour days. We have these massive formats, 44 setups to get through. How do you keep that? How do you keep the external out and just stick to the craft part of it? How do you keep everybody involved in that, locked in that filmmaking process?
Okay, so I think the biggest thing that you can do if you want your cast, crew, or anybody on your set to be locked in, shoot on film. And I'm not saying that because I'm here right now. I'm genuinely. When we would bring out the IMAX camera, everyone was at their absolute best. They know that it's special. When we would bring out the VistaVision or we're doing the hand crank or anything, it was, okay, this is gonna be special. And obviously I can't speak for the actors, but they were always so focused. I never saw anybody on their phone the entire set, like never, unless they're supposed to be out in the scene, because we did have that, which was awesome. But I mean, we were shooting in a place one day. It was 140 degrees. It was an abandoned gold mine. I was also wearing my sweater, which everyone thought was crazy. And we were doing this crazy shot, and one of the actresses threw up the moment we called cut. And I asked her after, I go, "Why didn't you walk out?" And she goes, "I can't fucking walk out. We're shooting on film," right? So you can see her in the scene. She starts fanning herself, and she's like, "Oh my God, oh my God." Which I thought she was just doing an incredible performance because she's supposed to be, upset that she's waiting. And sure enough, we go cut, and then she just disappears, and then she comes over to me, and she's like, "I threw up. I didn't know what to do." But that's my point. And I truly believe this. If we were shooting on just a normal digital camera, she probably, or any actor would have said, "I'm sorry, I need a second," or "I got to go," or whatever. They would have just stopped. But her dedication, she's actually right there. She can testify to this. Did that happen too?
It did.
Yep, there you go. And I think that is the level of dedication that you get with film. Mm-hmm. You get it not only from the actors, but you get it from the crew. And you just can't ask for more than that, in my opinion.
Yeah. You want to see Christopher Pace throw somebody around?
I would love to see him throw somebody around. Are we going to show the fight scene?
Yes.
Okay.
So before we go to the fight scene, how much film did you shoot?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. No, I really don't. I really don't.
How much IMAX did you shoot?
A lot. Now, what I'll say about IMAX is we used every
Kodak
single
film in IMAX.
frame. Kodak film
in IMAX.
In IMAX. We used every single frame of it. And there's one roll. You get 3 minutes and change on a roll. And there's probably from that one roll, I would have to say 3 minutes and 10 seconds in the movie. There's just like little pieces that obviously just before and after. But the movie starts, And then kind of this big music that Newman did that was amazing comes in, Rhapsody in Blue, and you see it go from a white frame into the Ferrari on fire. That is the IMAX actually rolling in. So we have rollouts in there, and we have the roll in there. So we literally used every frame. It's as of right now, before the Odyssey, that's the most IMAX in any movie by a bit.
Did anybody operate any of the cast? Actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There would be certain times where, like, there's one shot that I love where Connor is climbing up the back of an old Defender. He's hiding, and he climbs up and he jumps onto the roof. So I had one of the actresses operating the camera because I needed to be able to point to somebody so that they could tell him when it was time to go, because we had no line of sight and we never had walkie-talkies or anything like that, because that's crazy.
So some would say that all of these things we're talking about are compromises.
I don't think they're compromises at all. I think it's, you want to get an actor excited. There's a scene in the movie that Chris Pine shot. Chris, I think there are two. So Chris Pine shot 2 sequences in the movie. Patty Jenkins pulled focus on those. She shot a sequence in the movie. Her husband shot a sequence in the movie. Obviously, Giovanni, whenever we'd have 2 cameras, he would be shooting. He shot tons of stuff, but there's a moment where we were dealing with all the helicopters, and I needed to be able to tell the helicopter what to do. So he was shooting on the IMAX, which is just it's amazing. And having Giovanni, who I trust more than anybody when it comes to a camera, he's my cinematic brother, right? And just so it's not like you never have to worry when you have great people like that. There's never a thought where you're like, oh, what if we didn't get it? No, you got it, and it's going to be better than you imagined. And then we would sit in the scanning room, and it's just magic every time.
It's so counterintuitive to a lot of the counter arguments to film. It's like, well, if you're going to shoot film, first-time director, then you have to bring on a seasoned cinematographer, or all these other reasons. And
let me stop you right there.
I'm done.
Okay, so Tyler, who is back here, he was 20 when we started the movie. He's named after me. I've known him my whole life. He, when I got I bought this old VistaVision camera, right? And when I got the camera, there was a threading chart for it. That chart was probably 30 years old. It was laminated, the whole thing. Every time we turned the camera on, it would shake a little bit. So one day he says, he had never used film cameras before, right? So he learned every film camera, how to load them, how to thread them, everything. He goes, I'm going to take a crack at this. And he figured out that for 30 years, the camera had been threaded wrong. And that's why it shook. And so it doesn't matter. Obviously, having seasoned people is great. But having someone who is dedicated and passionate goes a long way. And that's how everybody was on this.
Now we can watch Christopher Pace.
Okay.
Throw somebody around.
Sorry. He's so violent.
It's funny because, I think it is, who says it in the movie that, so-and-so says that comedy is in the wide or in the...
Yeah. So that's the character named the Critic, who is actually Christopher Pace's father in real life.
It's funny because all the comedy is obviously...
Yeah.
So how would you, I guess, advise newer filmmakers to, I guess, have some faith in the process and explore going wider and not overdoing it with, say, like, oh, I need the camera movement to amplify this, I guess just the subtlety here.
When we did that, an amazing friend of Connor's and a good friend of mine was there, and he is Garrett Warren. He's one of the biggest. He's James Cameron stunt guy and all this, and he'd come out to hang out with us on set for the day because people just would always come and be there, right? And so one day we're doing this, and I think they had worked on how they were going to do that for probably 30 minutes. I think is what you guys prepped, maybe an hour, couple hours. Okay, so they worked on that for a couple hours, and we're doing this other shot. We finished that shot, and I'm like, okay, fight scene, because we already knew what we were going to do. So we run over, we set it up, we do it. They do that. what you see in the movie. Literally. And I go, okay, cool. Let's go to the airplane now. And Garrett is like, are you going to get coverage? And I'm like, why? Did you see what just happened?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it was amazing. And I go, why would you get coverage for that? We play it as one shot. It's perfect. And he goes, I love this set. And for me, it's like, okay, I can see, I know what the edit is, right? I know exactly where that shot is going to go in the edit. I know what's going to before it. I know what's after it. I know all of it. Yeah. And so there's no reason to do more of it when you have it.
Well, you're removing probability from the creative process, right? It's not like, well, what if I get there and I get the note that it's not going to work, or this is not dynamic enough, and
also with that shot specifically, I did not want to move the camera at all because I wanted it to be the way I kind of drew it up is I drew a little square and I go, okay, they go this way, then they go this way, then they go, like they go in and out of frame. And that was how I always saw that, is like Pace is just throwing him out of the frame, right? And when anybody in here who's making a movie, if you go and you shoot one scene from your movie, and this is for testing purposes, right? So the advice that I would give you, and a bunch of my friends in here have done this. Shoot the scene, pick a scene that's 1 or 2 minutes. Shoot it on your iPhone, get DaVinci Resolve, edit it, right? Then you're going to not like it. Shoot it again on the iPhone, okay? All right, now I know how to do it. Then get the film camera. Shoot it on the film camera and watch how much you fall in love with it. By the time you've done it the 3rd time, you know what the scene is supposed to be, so the direction is easy. My direction a lot of the times on this was very simple because they all knew what they were doing. Yeah. They were so ingrained in these characters. Like, I remember one time I was yelling at Connor, I'm like, do the thing you did 2 years ago in the tunnel. And he's like, and then, and if anybody from the outside was watching that, they'd be like, this guy's crazy, but he knows what I mean when I say that. And I think testing is amazing, but the magic of film, you're never going to see until you actually do it. And learning how to shoot and edit will save you forever. I've been editing since I was 15, right? I edited skate videos and music videos, so editing was something I love doing. And so by understanding how that scene is going to edit, you understand how to shoot it. And you don't need, 900 cuts and takes and this shot, and if that's not the vibe of the movie. Anybody who tells you that digital is cheaper is incorrect, because yes, maybe it's cheaper if you're just rolling. I mean, we have a film camera rolling right now. We have a digital camera rolling right now, right? I guarantee you that one's going to look better than that one. Now, sure, does that one cost some money? Yes, but what is that worth in the terms of the visual language of your project? You cannot put a price on seeing what you have in your mind on the screen.
Yeah, let alone a record of that project and that process that's going to last 100 years.
That's right. Yeah. Also, I will say this. We did a camera test one day for a different movie that I was helping out on. And I cannot say what or anything, but there was an IMAX camera, there was a VistaVision camera, there was a digital camera, and they were doing a whole test to show them. And when they got the test back, the card on the digital camera failed. And I was like, well, there's your test. Oof. Because the film's all good. That film could sink to the bottom of the ocean and still be good. All
right, let's move on to the Q&A portion.
It's my favorite part.
Yeah. We're going to play
excuse me, ma'am.
Tyler.
Yes, question?
Oh, Vanessa always goes first.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we got this gentleman right here.
What's the story of your happiest
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
I'm going to hand you a mic so we can
Oh,
hear
okay.
Yeah, please
Mike's
pass
coming
it around
down.
when you're done.
Mike's coming down. Here we go.
My voice is really quiet, so.
Okay.
What's the story of the happiest accident on set?
Ooh, the happiest accident. There was never an accident. There was, I think the moment that Christopher Pace walks into the phone booth in real life, that was the moment where I was like, oh my God, this might be really special. When he walked in that phone booth, I watched a performance and a character turn on, and it never turned off. I still think he's in character to this day. That was a magical moment because obviously, you know, Coleman jumped into his character so instantly, but the way that they all went into the characters, and there's so many people in this who have never acted before. Now, Smitty never been on camera before. Olivia, who plays Barbara in the film, never acted before. And so to watch all those people who'd never acted give incredible performances and be thrown into insane situations, you know, where they were not told what was going to happen in the scene. And there's a loud film camera going. I think her first shot she ever did was on VistaVision. You know, that thing is loud. It's just going. So I think watching these moments, I get to watch them all come to life. And I think that was really special.
Hello. I was wondering if you could talk more about shooting on the expired film and like when you knew you wanted to switch to the expired film. Like, I think the fear of shooting on a lot of expired film is that you kind of don't know what you're going to get. And if you don't like what you're going to get, there's a lot of production things that might have to be recreated again in order to shoot on the non-expired.
Yeah, I think that, you know, what we did specifically was we tried some really old stuff that was, you know, okay, we ran the risk of saying this may not work, right? And we were prepared if it didn't work to shoot it again or do something different. However, some of the old Vision 2, like the Matrix recans or even the Boogie Nights or, you know, even just some of the stuff that was even newer than that, once I understood, like, okay, this is how you light this, right? If you give this film this much light and you really kind of shoot it in this way, you're going to get this pretty much every time. Now, that being said, there could be one or two bad rolls. We never really came across that. I shot one from the 70s in like almost the dark, and it looks awesome. It'll be released as an outtake. I just didn't put it in the movie. It just didn't end up in the movie, which she's mad at me for all the time. But it still came out and has a really crazy look. And yeah, I just think that if you get a batch of it and you can kind of test it, snip test it, or do anything like that, and you can know like, okay, this film stock with this much light, we're gonna get this look. And it does have a crazy look. However, if you can't get enough of the old stock, right? What you can do is you can shoot a roll of the old and then shoot on the new, and you can kind of time it together. So you have the barometer of, okay, this is what the Vision 2 would look like in this scene. So now even if we're shooting on brand new film, because we need to, you know, have a lot of it, well, now you have the actual reference of that. And that's really helpful, in my opinion. Yeah, great question.
I do have a quick question first, though.
Yes.
So for the benefit of the audience, this was not a consecutive shooting schedule by any means. And I kept thinking the movie was over and they were done shooting, and then Tyler would call me and be like, do you have any, you know? And so I was just curious how much the tools that you ended up having access to informed your storytelling, like, you know, which movies you decided to have as the movies within the movie because you had access to a VistaVision camera, you wanted to incorporate another format, or how much of the tools were being defined by the story that you already had in mind.
If you can shoot your movie on IMAX, 100% do it. You will meet Greg and Bruce. They will change your life. It's the best thing you could ever do. Not everyone can do that. But if you can, do it. If you can't do that and you can shoot your movie on VistaVision, do that. If you can only shoot your movie on Super 8, do that. It doesn't matter because the tool is the tool. And 1 second, Mr. Smitty. You have said yes? You want to yell something? There is a quiet VistaVision camera. So funny. Yes, there happens to be one. We'll get into that in a second. Like, for instance, today, to film this, I brought my 3-perf film camera, right? And I have on there a Cook Speed Pancro. There's another Cook Speed Pancro on this. But I wanted to capture this on film. And that probably sounds crazy to people. But the 3-perf for us is almost like, this is what we would use if we were like mounting the camera on something crazy, or we just needed to do something like
But
very
Tyler, it's only happening once. Why would
very-
you ever shoot that on film?
right, exactly. But when you remove this thing that they tell you, which is you have to have a big setup and you have to have the focus and the this and the this, and the camera becomes this big thing, it's not true. That camera right now has nothing on it. If it didn't have the 1,000-foot mag on for this, it would be so tiny he could handhold it probably for 30 minutes. The limitations are what people tell you, not what actually is the case. If you figure out a story that you can tell, the camera doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters is the lens and the film you use, because a camera is a box that holds film in the dark, and the lens is the thing that's telling the story. The IMAX camera just happens to be the biggest and the best box ever made. But it doesn't matter. Nothing should stop you. And when we started this, we didn't know it was going to become the thing it became. But we had the ability to wait and be patient. So if IMAX said, we're going to have a camera, we need to try something, or, they're working on something and they wanted to test something, I would say, great, I'll bring everybody together, I'll get some helicopters and let's test it. Or I'll do, whatever. And we were very fortunate that we were able to do that. And then it spiraled from there where Dan Suzuki would say, I really need to test these lenses. And I'd say, well, we need to shoot a scene. And so that became the thing. That is not normal in any capacity. But if you have one camera and you have one lens and you understand how to manipulate film, you can make your movie.
Yeah, well, that's something that's so special, and we see it a lot here at the Kodak House, especially because it does somewhat act as a community hub for filmmakers, either first time or long standing. You become integrated in a community, like Tyler says, and then there is that exchange of ideas and knowledge and skills and technology and silent VistaVision cameras.
I want to talk about Smitty for a second because, when we met Smitty, the first day he met us, we had flown a helicopter to a mountaintop that you could only get to by helicopter, and we're shooting, and he's like, who are these people? And Pace is yelling at people, and we're doing these crazy things. And he was like, I love you guys. Like, this is so much fun. But what happened is he became family to me, and he started helping. I mean, I remember one day I had this really old film camera, and he came over with a soldering thing, and he made me a cable. So I could, one of my favorite Smitty lines is he goes, you have a soldering iron? And I go, no. And he goes, I got one in the car. And he went out, got it out of his car. Sure, he did. And he builds me a cable so I could turn this camera on, right? And that's the film community, right? Cut to, I have my VistaVision camera, which is loud, and I was gonna build a box, like an old, 1940s big box. And he goes, no, let's do it, because I play this FBI character in the film, and we wanted to shoot my whole thing on VistaVision. So my whole interview is on VistaVision. And Smitty was like, no, let's do it on my camera. And I believe that was the test for your camera, right, Smitty? Yeah. And so again, we became the guinea pig. And what we learned is that the camera is completely silent. So now we're shooting VistaVision silent. He gets to say to, I believe the camera went to Begonia after us. And then, somebody from Begonia is writing me, and they're like, hey, what do we need to know sound-wise? What do we need to know mic-wise? Like, da-da-da, and I'm like, nothing. Camera's totally silent. You're all good, da-da. And I gave them a list of, like, here's the things, here's how we shot it. I sent them a scene so they could watch it. That is what I mean by a community, right? I think a lot of people would be like, I don't know, figure it out, right? But I wanted to share my knowledge because he brought the camera for us to test. We tested it. It's in the movie. And I want that camera to be used, and now it is. And so that's where the community comes in.
Got one back here.
Thank you. Hi, Hunter. I was curious for, like, with the stakes as high as they were, just like with, the formats that you're using, but also on an inherently unpredictable genre and like scenes that are comedic and also working with non-actors. How did you deal with like preparing for and approaching some of the unpredictable aspects of the film?
Great question. I think that if you try to prepare, you'll be unprepared, right? So you have to be ready for anything at all times. And we never had any moment where it was like, oh, what are we going to do? There was always an answer, right? Everything's an opportunity. And there would be times where we would go out to shoot something, and man, like what we thought we were going to shoot, and then the other thing that we ended up shooting, that's because we were so able to just say, well, you know what? Like there's a scene in the movie. Well, I don't know if you remember this, but it's the windmills are going, and there's kind of the two of them are on the sides, and Pace comes up in the middle. And some people say that's their favorite looking scene in the movie. We were out shooting a different thing that day, and I remembered shooting at that place. It was 5 minutes away from where we were at, and I'd shot something there 10 years before. And I remember the sunset when I'd shot it 10 years ago. And I go, we got to get in the car right now. We got to go to this spot. The sunset's going to be there. It's 18 minutes is where we'll have the light there, and blah, 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 blah. And they jump in. We run over. We grab the shot. We get it. Boom, we're out of there. But that was because we were prepared for anything that could happen. You can't control the sunset. Sometimes it's the clouds come in, or sometimes it just goes too quick, or sometimes it's, it's going to be pink, or it's going to be... But we were ready for anything at all times. And there was just, that ability is a level of freedom that most people don't get to have, where I think a lot of people, they get on a film set and it's like, okay, we're behind, right? We were never behind. We were always ahead. Being behind means you're trying to catch up, so you're rushing. Every time that we rolled the camera, there was not 1 ounce of pressure in terms of time, because there was no, oh, well, we're not going to get it. It's, this is it. We're doing the moment. And it might only get it one time, like the shot where it's the sunset, which we shot on IMAX, and Tu's kind of looking over her shoulder. We had, I would say, probably 2 minutes to do that shot. And we start shooting it, and I think, Bruce, were you there when we did that? I think, so, Smitty, you were there, because she was blinking. And I just started going, stop blinking! I've got 30 seconds of light left. And that, 8-10 seconds is in the movie because we were prepared for that. And so anybody who wants to make a movie, go out and shoot something with no stakes and put yourself in precarious situations. If you want to know how to do it, take 2 actors, go to the beach at the sunset, put a clock on yourself and say, we have to have a full scene in 18 minutes. Because that's basically the kind of time once you get that sweet spot. And if you can learn how to do that, then nothing can stop you. Sorry, that's a long-winded answer. But
Thank you.
It's a good answer.
great question.
Got one over here. Two-part.
Two-part question.
Wait for the mic,
Long-time
please.
listener, first-time caller.
Question is, how many days you shot? And then with the IMAX camera giving you 3 minutes per roll, how did you incorporate that?
The days, I don't know, but it was, Connor did 9 movies while we made this movie, right? So, we would shoot, and then he'd go off and do a movie, and then we'd shoot another day, and then he'd go off and do another movie. I don't know, he just keeps doing movies. It's crazy. But not a lot of days, but over a long period of time. And then the next question was?
Oh, just as far as the IMAX.
IMAX, yes. So when you get used to the 3 minutes of IMAX, which personally I like, because everyone's so focused, right? Like today, for instance, while Tyler is shooting this on the film camera, this is the longest he's ever run a camera in one go, because we would never do that. We would never run the camera for 3 minutes or whatever. When you understand the limitations of it, it makes you better. I always take this back to Jaws, right? The shark didn't work in Jaws. if the shark had worked and it had been CGI, it'd be a very different movie, right? The IMAX camera was our shark. It was our Jaws. It was limiting at first, but then everyone became so proficient at. I mean, there's moments that they did, that the actors did, where I don't know if instinctually they knew this, but it would be like, blah 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 blah. Last line, 1, 2, 3, roll out. And it just became this magical thing. And then we would celebrate rollouts. We'd be like, oh my God, roll out, roll out. Everybody be like, roll out. And we just loved it. We loved the rollout. We would always shout it out and be like, oh my God, it was perfect. And there's so many moments in there. And if you really look at the movie, you can see a couple where the exposure starts to go up just a little bit. And it's like, I'm telling you, maybe 1 second, maybe 24 frames, and we don't have it. It would come that close. So we used every single moment of it. And then when we would be shooting VistaVision, and we had 5+ minutes, we're like, Jesus Christ, is this roll ever going to end? Like, oh my God. Like, this just keeps going forever. And then obviously if you shoot 4 perf or 3 perf, and then you're like, oh dude, we got 10 minutes in this thing. This is crazy. So yeah, I personally, I love it. It makes you very decisive, very focused, and everybody's just on point. Yeah, amazing.
Got one right here.
Hi. Since you're shooting on so many formats, all these different cameras, I was wondering if you could maybe give some insight into what your prep and testing looked like.
So some of the stuff we couldn't test because it was like, oh, we have one roll from 1975, or we have this one thing from this. So I would try to do the best that I could to help the film, right? If you want to test, like if you want to shoot a movie on film, easy thing to do is get a little 35 millimeter film camera, right? Go out, shoot a couple different still photos, right? If you don't want to do that, get one roll of, let's say, do you like 16? Do you like 35?
35.
Okay, great. So what I would say to you is get one roll of film. And if you want to do 1,000 feet, right, and you want to do 3 perf, you're talking 14 minutes basically, right? So what a lot of people do on tests is they will shoot 14 minutes of one thing. No good. Shoot 14 1-minute things, right? Really test every aspect of the lenses and the camera. Write it all down. Know exactly what it is. If you want to even break it down more, do 20 seconds and then do even more and more and more and more and more, right? Because the more knowledge you have of, okay, like let's say for instance I'm shooting this gentleman right here, right? Well, I know that if I shoot him on a specific film stock on a certain lens, that shirt's going to look a certain way, and the light that's hitting and bouncing off that and hitting the side of his face, if he turns his head that way and he looks up, I'm going to get his eyes in a certain way that if I shoot him on 50D, he's going to glow, but if I shoot him on 500T, he's going to look a little more angry, right? So if I swap, like if I was to go with a Pancro versus a T-series or a C-series Panavision, the entire mood of him changes. Thank you, sir. Do you know what I mean? So seeing that is this wealth of knowledge. What I tried to do here is I tried to give you that, where you can say like, oh, that's the look that I want. How do I achieve that look? And so, yeah, testing is amazing. But try to test different things. See what, if you're making a movie and it's all in one location, then great, just kind of figure out how to do that in the one location. But if you have a movie that has different scenes, outside, inside, whatever, test it all and change the lenses. You can literally do one roll of film and change the lenses and watch how the whole thing changes.
One more? Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, got one more.
Hi. So, out of curiosity, I know this is all on streaming platforms, but do you have any plans for physical media? You have such a wealth of knowledge. This is just like a bank of information, and I can only imagine DVD commentaries or something like that. Is that in the works?
Yeah, so I want to do a Blu-ray with a whole commentary, but it's funny because Lowell Crowley and Brady Corbett had come to a screening at IMAX one day, and Lowell had called me the next day, and he's like, okay, so this shot and this shot, and we were going through the movie, and I actually had sent him the movie because he started pulling stills from it, so he's asking me about all the different things, and he goes, you got to make a book of these stills. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to. And then the next person, we have a screening, and David Klein, who's the DP of Star Wars, amazing guy. He's like, you should do a book of the still from the movie. I said, yeah, I'm going to do a book. So at some point, I'm going to do a physical book, a photography book of it. My goal would be to have the images that are in the film, and then on the left-hand side of the page, either a behind the scenes or the lens or the camera or how we did it or just film stock, whatever, different explanation. Different on each page because each image kind of has its own story. And then also we have made some crazy making of videos. So we have one with Panavision that's going to come out soon. We have one with the cast, some of the crew and everything. That'll come out. We're doing one with Kodak where we'll really dive into all this. We're filming this for that right now. But my goal is I want to try to get out as much information for people as possible. I'm trying to figure out the best ways to do that. I think the book will be very good. And then when we kind of release these videos, if anybody watches these videos and you have feedback or you have questions, just write a comment or say, oh, can you answer this? And it's tough for me because somebody, I was doing this incredible podcast, and the woman in the podcast goes, how do you do the red? I just want to know how you do the red. She's doing a movie with blood, and she goes, I just want to know how you do the red. And I was like, I don't know how not to do the red. Like, I just know how to do that. I couldn't do it any other way, so I don't know what's an important question that somebody wants the answer to, right? Because to me, I can do that blindfolded. I don't mean that in like it's so easy way, but I just been doing it for so long, so I don't think, oh yeah, somebody's gonna want to know how to do this. So it's good to have people, and that's why I like doing these things because there's questions that have been asked that I would have never thought to bring up or answer. So yeah, we'll do and we'll do more screenings at IMAX, and we'll do some film print screenings and some things like that. And anybody who has seen the film or hasn't seen the film, try to come to any of the screenings. Watching this movie at IMAX is a crazy experience. I remember we were doing this screening, and Brady just stood up, and he stood for about 30 minutes of the movie, and he was just pointing at things, and I looked over at Giovanni, and I was like, what is going on right now? I fucking love this. Like, he's literally just standing and pointing, and that's kind of the thing, even when you just came recently and saw it.
I saw it down at the headquarters.
Yeah. And it's a crazy experience.
It's crazy. I'm a little more shy than Brady, so I didn't do that. But you could. Just 10 seconds into the movie, you're like, oh my God, there's so much going on here. And then trying to shake in the back of your mind is like, this is like a handful of filmmakers that did this. And you're constantly having those two thoughts tug at your brain. It's like, why?
It was so cool because, I was talking to Lowell, and Lowell actually said something to me that I thought was just one of the greatest compliments. And he's just such a sweet guy, and he loves cinema so much. But he'd asked me, oh, how did you do this one shot? And I was saying, and Lowell said, this film is a cinematic encyclopedia. And I was like, that is the best compliment. And that's why I wanted to have, this poster with the different shots. And I want it to be a thing where people can reference it and use it to make their own movies any way they like. So,
well, thank you.
So for those who watch this online at some point, this is Vanessa speaking off camera from Kodak, but I just want to give some context to this because I think it's really easy to listen to Tyler speak and assume that it's because of the background he has in photography and the relationships he has in this industry that he was able to do this. And it is not that. It is that he is so tenacious, and his passion for this is infectious, and it's why people are willing to do whatever they can to be a part of it. It's why people will wear every hat on the set to be a part of this chaos that he is, making into art. And I've just been so impressed with watching you. First of all, he doesn't sleep. I'm pretty sure he's a vampire. I get texts like all hours of the night when I wake up in the morning. But I'm really impressed with the way that you just decided you were going to learn whatever you didn't know, and you were going to find a solution to, like you said, every challenge, which became an opportunity. And it's been really fun to see you birth this into the world. But I think it's important to just acknowledge that it was hard. Movie making is hard. And I think you did an excellent job of taking on a lot of technical challenges and pulling it together in a way that's really educational for people and really fun to watch. So I just want to commend you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. But again, I have to say, every single person, including Vanessa, everybody helped me so much. I mean, I hope that it became infectious. It seemingly did because we shot for so long, but I just love this. I love doing this so much. I love shooting things so much. And this was a dream of mine. And what I'll say is, I wrote a movie that was on the blacklist, and I would go out and I'd picture these movies, and I'd go meet with all these studios, and everything that I ever wanted to make got turned down. And so with this one, I said, well, they can't turn me down if I do it myself. And I'm going to have to learn how to do every single job. And it was amazing. I'm so glad that I did that. It's very difficult, but it's really rewarding, and you will never regret it. And so if anybody out there is worried that you can't do everything, you can. You just have to be patient enough to do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank
you,
you,
everybody.
Thank you.
Stick around if you want to. We're done here.